Okay, so today the Dodgers signed Trevor Bauer to a 3-year deal. Obviously, that's pretty huge news, and as a Dodger fan, I'm super excited for the upcoming season. But let's talk about Bauer specifically. Will he live up to expectations? Is his crazy contract worth it? Can I and other Dodger fans look past the fact he's an enormous douchebag? Let's find out. Bauer is fresh off the 2020 NL Cy Young Award, where he had an electric 1.73 ERA and 2.88 FIP in 73 innings. His 2.5 F-WAR was 4th for all pitchers, and his 12.3 Ks per 9 was 3rd among all starters. There's no question Bauer was a star last year, but the real question is if the performance was a fluke from a 60-game season, or if he's capable of sustaining that form through the length of his contract with LA. If there's anything scary about his peripherals, it's a 2.15 BABIP in 2020, significantly lower than his career 2.94 BABIP. This is generally a sign there was at least some batted ball luck involved in his 1.73 ERA, and I definitely wouldn't expect his 2021 BABIP to be that low. However, there is evidence that his FIP and ERA could be close to his 2020 figure, since Bauer's K rate, walk rate, and whiff percentage were just that good in 2020. While Bauer gave up a little bit more hard contact than you might like, it didn't result in a lot of damage since this contact came at suboptimal launch angles for the most part. Bauer's fastball, despite not being especially fast, had the best spin rate in the league, leading to 3.9 inches of perceived rise on the pitch, making it ideal for inducing soft pop-ups. Conversely, his curveball, which had a 92nd percentile spin rate, had an absurd 63.6 inches of drop, which is 11 inches better than average, making it great at inducing ground balls. Bauer's xwOBA, which is a StatCast-based stat that only takes into account balls put in play, was 300, which is in the top 1% in the league. Combined with Bauer's 95th percentile strikeout rate and 80th percentile walk rate, this gave Bauer a StatCast expected ERA of 2.17, which is obviously a little bit higher than his actual ERA, but it's still in the 99th percentile of MLB pitchers. The other concern with Bauer was that he really only has 2 great seasons in 2018 and 2020, so should people be worried he might regress? Well, the biggest year-to-year differences for Bauer in his good season versus his bad seasons are his spin rates, which, let's just say there are probably outside factors at work there. To be honest, if there aren't any rulings or crackdowns on pine tar for pitchers, I wouldn't be too worried about Bauer regressing to his pre-2018 form. So in short, Bauer probably won't be as otherworldly as he was in 2020, but he should still be elite going forward if he can keep up the same adjustments as he made last season. Now let's talk about that contract, because oh boy, it's a doozy. Bauer's contract is for 3 years and a total of $102 million, a $34 million AAV. But it's structured sort of strangely, with him due $40 million in 2021, $45 million in 2022, and $17 million in 2023, with player opt-outs after each year. I'd be very surprised if Bauer opted out after year 1, since he'd be due a record $45 million in 2022, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if he opted out after 2022. I actually think this contract structure is ideal for LA, who, by giving a high AAV, low-length deal, are minimizing the risk of Bauer aging poorly and being a drag on their payroll several years down the line. The Dodgers' contract situation is actually pretty interesting, since basically nobody except Mookie Betts is owed any money after 2022. This is important because if Bauer opts out after 2 seasons, his contract would not overlap with Cody Bellinger or Walker Buehler entering free agency in 2023 and 2024 respectively. I do think this move makes LA unlikely to re-sign Corey Seager after next season, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. In terms of the luxury tax threshold, the Dodgers are probably going to be shooting way past it this year and probably next year as well, but that's okay since LA took care to remain under the luxury tax threshold last season, which reset their status. This means that LA's penalty for going over the threshold would be a modest 20% this year, and that 20% is only taxed on overages. If LA goes over the threshold in 2022, the tax increases to 30%, but clearly the Dodgers want to capitalize on their momentum, so I don't think they really care, to be honest. I also wouldn't be surprised if the Dodgers made a move to trade away David Price or AJ Pollock to alleviate some tax concerns, since the Dodgers still don't really have a starting third baseman. Despite Bauer getting a record-breaking amount of money in 2021 and 22, I do think this deal is fair considering the relatively low risk due to the short length and how well it aligns with LA's other contracts. So we've determined that Bauer will still probably be great, if not Cy Young level next year, and that his contract, while crazy on the surface, is actually pretty team-friendly. So why am I way less excited than I thought I would be for a big signing? Well, to be frank, I think Trevor Bauer is kinda just an asshole. Before you get your panties in a knot, it's not because of a specific political stance. To me, he just comes off as like this neckbeard redditor that happens to be one of the best pitchers on the planet. He has this air of thinking he's smarter than everyone else, and in some cases like pitching, he probably is smarter than everyone else, but in most other things, he just comes off like a know-it-all that still has a ton of really bad opinions. But I can still try to spin this. After all, I knew Manny Machado was a douche, but I still rooted for him. Trevor Bauer being supremely unlikable, but still being heavily present on Twitter, YouTube, etc. is actually a huge boon for the Dodgers and for baseball overall from a marketing perspective. Say what you will about Bauer, but he isn't afraid to show his true personality to millions of people online, and I guess I have some respect for that. People love to hate players, and they tune in to watch villains hopefully lose. Just look at Tom Brady, and obviously Bauer isn't as good as Tom Brady, but the two will probably be similarly reviled. Madison Bumgarner was the face of the Dodgers-Giants rivalry, and I truly disliked him. Like, he was one of the few baseball players I didn't just dislike as a player, I actually disliked him as a person. But the thing is, I loved to hate him. Every time he pitched against the Dodgers, it was must-watch TV, and Bauer can bring the same type of experience to every non-Dodgers fan, since this signing pretty much makes the Dodgers public enemy number 2 right behind the Astros. That's the other thing, which is, before this, I actually felt like the Dodgers were a super likable team, with a great mix of exciting, outgoing personalities and quiet, stoic types that made them super hard to hate as people. Pretty much all of their core players were homegrown or reclamation projects, and they never really flaunted their wealth with massive free agent signings, I guess until now. I don't particularly care what other fan bases think, but it was kinda nice not being outright hated like a Yankees or Astros fan whenever I mentioned that I was a Dodgers fan. I honestly don't think I'll ever like Trevor Bauer, but as long as he doesn't do anything egregious, I'll tolerate him enough to hope he plays well, which I guess is fine with me. So there you go. From a baseball perspective, I'm thrilled, because this solidifies the Dodgers as the team to beat in 2021 with the best rotation in the league, and it really doesn't screw LA's financials too hard going forward. From an external perspective, I'm less excited, but I'll probably get over it as long as he plays well, which probably makes me a hypocrite, but so be it. I'll be happy to be a hypocrite whose favorite team wins a lot of baseball games and hopefully another World Series in the near future. As always, thanks for watching. If you're enjoying the content, sub to the channel and maybe leave a like, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.